EduHubSpot on 10 sample PMI cloned questions which appear from the real exam, but we have gone ahead and reworded them in a manner where you get to feel the same, the same as appearing in the real like PMP exam, but you definitely get to know the thought process as well as the agile way of thinking as well as up and over everything the PMI way of thinking which helps you ace the questions over and over as you move on. So that is the main agenda of today's discussion. But having said that, welcome everyone to this particular session. So feel free to ask me any questions on PMP. Whomsoever is looking forward to acing PMP, be it within a week, or be it within 2 weeks, or be it by the end of this month, or even next month, feel free to ask any questions from any arena on PMP whatsoever. We will be very happy to go ahead and help you guide the best way possible. Don't hesitate to question. Don't hesitate also to go ahead and comment on the chat section. As always, I would be very eager to go ahead and see who amongst you go ahead and attempt the questions correctly. And obviously, I'll be more than happy to go ahead and see who all are aligned with the PMI way of thinking and what else we can go ahead and do to make you align. Yes, so having said that, there are lots of facets to go out and discover. Agile is one particular concept where the questions go out and come, keep coming whatsoever. So let them keep coming. Let them keep coming to your mind. Come to us, ask questions. We are there to help you the best way possible, be it from the exam perspective, be it from agile perspective, or be it any perspective whatsoever is relevant for you to make you successful. We from EduHubSpot look to make you successful, and we pride and we are happy, day in and out to have seen many of our mentees, going ahead and getting above target scores in all domains. That's what is the confidence amongst us in terms of the materials that we provide, in terms of the mentorship that we go ahead and provide you. We make sure that definitely you go ahead and kind of have a feeling as though it's very easy for you to go ahead and crack the exam. Yes, it is very easy to go ahead and crack the exam, and we'll precisely see why when we go ahead and tackle the questions and take it forward as we move on. Okay, so I get to see a question from Calvin. Welcome, Calvin. I didn't get to see you last week, but welcome back. How close are questions between PMP and PMI ACP? Very, very valid question. PMI ACP, for those who don't know what that certification is all about. So it's all about Agile Certified Practitioner. PMI Agile Certified Practitioner is one of the very, very recognized, reputed certifications in the ACP or the Agile industry. So if you go ahead and are Agile Certified Practitioner from PMI, it does not necessarily mean that you are a certified Scrum Master or you're a certified Product Owner or you're certified some other aspect from Agile. You are becoming an Agile Certified Practitioner. So you're a master of many of the concepts. In fact, most of the concepts in Agile. It covers end-to-end all the concepts, and we have mentor Nidhi Kohli going ahead and catering to precisely whatever you need from Agile perspective. Our bootcamp was also around the corner on 18th of September 2021. It goes ahead and kickstarts on around the same time. So if you have any queries or have any doubts regarding ACP, you can always reach me out. So during the course of the discussion, I will make sure that I go ahead and share my email ID with all of you. So feel free to reach me out. Many of you already have my email IDs. I will still go ahead and share the same. First and foremost, let me go ahead and share the YouTube link for the same. So you'll be able to go ahead and see my streaming out here live, as well as you'll go ahead and get to see the recording once the live is done. So, feel free to go ahead and access the link at any point of time. So hi to everyone. Hi to Rajesh. Hi to Senthil. Yeah, Calvin, coming back to your question, very, very importantly. So ACP questions or agile questions are, very, very focused on agile. Now you might say PMP is also focused on, partly on agile and also partly on predictive. So what's the difference between the two exams? Well, in PMP, you go ahead and get 70 to 80% questions from agile. Remaining questions are still predictive or, a mix and match of agile and predictive, which is hybrid whatsoever. But then ACP is completely focused on agile and will be testing you a bit higher at a higher level from the agile perspective. Now, having said that, we can't go ahead and mark any of these exams between the two as higher in terms of difficulty or lower in terms of difficulty. No, they are pretty much the same, in terms of the rigor and also the efficacy. But then once you get done with PMP, you are, proficient in agile to a certain extent. Then you become a master when you go ahead and come to us and get the necessary mentorship from Nidhi in terms of agile certification, and you go ahead and take it forward accordingly, end to end. Thanks, Boishaki. I've also gone ahead and seen your comments. Go ahead and keep loving, liking, sharing in YouTube the sessions that we go ahead and conduct. So I've already conducted near around 6 to 7 YouTube sessions each and every week. We are going ahead and conducting on Thursdays. So it's for the benefit of one and all. Go ahead and take it forward. The best way you can go ahead and benefit from these sessions. So at the outset, even before going to the questions, let me go ahead and type my email ID. So if you say, for example, have any questions not only during the course of the session, but also beyond the course of the or beyond the purview or beyond the boundary of the session, you want to ask me how to best go ahead and take forward your PMP or ACP journey, feel free to reach me out at my email ID. Hi, Porkodi Parumal. Hi, Vishnu. Hi to everyone. Go ahead and make the most out of these sessions. And whatever question comes, feel free to post on chat. If you want to get into a one-on-one call with me, just go ahead and email me. I'll go ahead and share with you my phone number. We can get into a discussion, be it over Zoom or over phone, be it any modes of communication. Let not communication be any kind of hindrance to our getting PMP certified or ACP certified or any other certification from PMI. Yes, ACP is still relevant. I won't say relevant over DSSM. DSSM disciplined agile is one particular facet or concept. Nothing ranks high or low, but in some of the other facets or in some industries or in some companies, you find DSSM very very fruitful from the efficacy perspective. In some others, ACP being more fruitful. So if you want to know whether you are more or you will be getting more help if you go for ACP or DSSM, again, please reach us out over email. So our mentor will get in touch with you, will evaluate your background, will get back to you on what exactly is the need of the hour. Calvin is asking why PMP materials are so expensive. Okay, so it's expensive for you, huh? The need of the hour as well as the training and also the PMI body are different. So we can't possibly comment on that. Absolutely, Gautam. We look forward to the session. And Puneet, thanks again. Okay, so Podkodi, go ahead and reach me out if you have any queries. I will be more than happy to go ahead and help you. You have 1 week left for the exam, so reach me out over email. Let us go into a one-on-one. Let's see how best I can go ahead and help you. I will go ahead and definitely tell you what are the best ways to prepare over the last week. It also depends on where you are currently in terms of your preparation, right? So let me go ahead and get back to you on that as well. Okay, so having said that, welcome guys again. Resharing the YouTube link with all of you once again over chat. So feel free to go ahead and share the same with any of your friends or colleagues who are interested in knowing more about Agile, seeing what PMP is all about, what kinds of questions feature, and how to get in line with the PMI way of thinking the best way possible. Okay, any other questions? Why Pinbock guide is so difficult to read? So I would possibly put it in this way that it is a textual kind of book for reference. But then if you want to make due justice to the concepts and want to understand the way in which schemes work or way in which the concepts can be applied, you feel free to reach to us at any point of time. We will make sure that definitely it's made the easiest possible way. That's how we have gone ahead and prepared our curriculum. We know that you are busy professionals, you don't have much time to go through thousands and thousands of pages. So we have gone ahead and factored our material, also have fine-tuned our mentorship the best way possible to go ahead and benefit you the elite EduHubSpot way, if I may put it forward like that. You can also call that as the assured EduHubSpot way. Let's get started with the questions. Okay. So here you go. The first question comes to you on the screen. I'm starting the 60-second timer. Okay, so last 10 seconds. Wow, Dikshit, spot on. Anyone else want to go ahead and try it out? Feel free to post your options. Okay, Ratna, Poishakhi, Amit, Amardeep, Kanikurika, Munindra. Awesome, guys. You have definitely gone ahead and started the best way possible. Let's see. Why is it option D or is it some other option out here? Okay, so let's get into the nitty gritties of the question. Okay, so in order to maintain a client website, the agile team takes over from another supplier. Okay, the reason for this takeover is the fact that the recent browser changes made by the supplier has necessitated the website's users to install a plugin which was uncalled for. In which of the following ways should the agile team move forward? Now, what the question is going ahead and asking us. You are part of this agile team, okay? Now, there is a supplier who goes ahead and does something to the client, or gives or provides something, or supplies something to the client. Okay, so you have two facets out here, the agile team and the supplier. Okay, well and good. Now the reason for the takeover of the team over from the supplier whatsoever has been attributed to the fact that there are some recent browser changes. Browser in the sense the web browser changes like Internet Explorer or Chrome or any other browser whatsoever. Recent browser changes made by the supplier. So the supplier, which was reporting to the client out here, has made some recent browser changes to the browser, which has in turn necessitated the users of this website to install a plugin. Now, that was uncalled for. Now, this installation of this extra plugin or the separate plugin was uncalled for. That was not desired at first place. Yeah. So, that has resulted in the agile team taking over from the supplier. It's pretty simple to understand out here. There are three parties: the client, the agile team, and the supplier. And now, as we have seen in the question, the supplier has gone ahead and provided a browser which has gone ahead and necessitated the installation of a plugin which was uncalled for. Yeah. So now, in which of the following ways should the agile team move forward post this takeover? See, it has hardly gone ahead and taken me around 30 to 40 seconds to answer to understand the question in entirety. That's what would be the need of the hour at your end at the outset. You need to first dissect the question, understand all the parties involved, understand whatever the context being provided in the question. And once you are fully mastering the concept provided in the question, then only move on to the options out here and choose out which of the following options would be the best one to go forward. Let's see what are the options. Inform the client about the previous supplier's negligence. So, kind of complaining, huh? Now, the thing out here is the agile team has already taken over from the supplier. Why will you again go ahead and complain about the previous supplier's negligence, which has in fact resulted in the users to now go ahead and install a separate plugin? Why would you do that? Option A gets ruled out. Deliver the code updates as defined in the contract. Now, very, very important. The contract might have been defined, between the agile team, supplier, and also the client among the three parties out here. But then delivering the code updates as per the defined contract hasn't happened in first place. The reason being that the supplier has now necessitated the installation of a plugin. That's the reason as to why the agile team has gone ahead and taken the place of the supplier. Why would you again have to go ahead and see or deliver the code updates as defined in the contract? It's already bygone, right? You have already gone ahead and come over this particular option whatsoever. So how can that be the option out here? Option C: get all the pre-existing code updated to remove any plugin dependencies. Now, what it is going ahead and saying is, whatever the work that the supplier has gone ahead and done out here, you go ahead and undo all the work and then go ahead and see if any kind of dependencies whatsoever can be removed. Get all the pre-existing code updated to remove any dependencies between the couple of aspects, the code, the existing code, and any dependencies of the plugin. Would you still go ahead with that? Okay, now this is a good option, I would say, at least until unless we haven't gone through option D. Let's ballpark this option C for the time being. Option D, notify the client about the information and propose an impact analysis. Absolutely, isn't it? Have you gone ahead, tell me first and foremost, have you gone ahead and come out with any impact analysis of the installation of the plugin, whatever the supplier has gone ahead with? If you haven't, then how come you go ahead and get to understand what are the plugin dependencies in first place? So this is definitely a good option. But even before that, you have to perform the impact analysis and then only jump to option C, isn't it? So if you are marking for option C, which definitely seems as though can be a good option, you still have to wait for some time, see option D and see that that is in fact a precursor step before option C can go ahead and take over. So go ahead and read all the options, then only go ahead and safely point for the option which is the best out of the lot. Very, very important. Even though one option seems a good option, you still may go ahead and have a better option out of the lot, which necessitates you to go ahead and read all the options carefully. Even before that, read the case carefully in details. Okay, so let's see what would be the best possible option out here in this case. So as you see, in the present case, the client needs to be made aware of the impact of the recent plugin issue on businesses and costs. Absolutely. Then only you go for the next step, which somehow to some extent goes ahead and gets addressed by option C out here. First, notify the client about the information. Remember, both you as the agile team as well as the supplier are reporting to the client out here. So until and unless you notify the client about what all wrong has happened, until unless you propose an impact analysis and you then go ahead and see, what are the dependencies that need to be removed, you going ahead and jumping directly to option C doesn't make sense out here. Options A and B can directly be ruled out, but if it were two closed options, then it was C and D. But then you went ahead and chose for option D because of the reasons explained. Anyone having any questions on this? Okay, so I hope that you have gone ahead and got the concepts clear. I hope everyone is able to view the questions clearly end to end. I don't see any kind of issues out here from my end whatsoever in terms of screen being blurred. Thanks, Indumati. So this is how the questions will go ahead and appear in the real exam well, which is why, or which is where you need to do due justice in terms of getting to the scheme of things whenever the time comes. So you'll have to go ahead and do due justice as per the questions. You obviously don't know which is an easy question, which is a medium question, and which is a hard question. So you need to go ahead and be on the safer side, read the question carefully, and then only move on. Now, it has been seen umpteen number of times, and as such, I've gone ahead and spoken to one of my mentees today as well. Who happened to go ahead and hurriedly read the question, then jump to the options, and then again go back to the question to go ahead and validate whether that option, whatever he or she had chosen, is the correct one, and then get back to the options again. Kind of a ping pong between the options and the answers, rather the options and the case. Now that is a sure shot recipe to some kind of inaccuracy from your end. Why some kind of inaccuracy? Because eventually you will panic, and in panic, it has been proven from the human psychology perspective as well. Invariably, 90% of the times you will go out and select the wrong option. So please abstain from such kind of I won't say malpractices, but such kind of practices. So one of the reasons as to why once you go ahead and join us, I make sure that you're also going ahead and getting attuned to the positive way of thinking. Eradicate any kind of negativities from your end, eradicate any kind of anxiety, and then only you will slowly start seeing whatever you wanted to go ahead and attain, you'll be able to easily attain at any point of time. You also need to enjoy, also need to bear a smile like me, and somewhere down the line, laugh at the wrong options. It's perfectly fine, to be wrong. But then when you see a wrong option, learn to smile as well, learn to enjoy. So that will be even more helpful for you to go ahead and select the correct option. Moving ahead to the next question. Thanks, Munindra. Okay. And here goes the next question. Clicking on start. Okay, so the time is up. And I see many of you going for option A. Dikshit, awesome. So you are gone ahead and had option the first question correct, even the second question correct as well. I see one C. Let's see whether C would be the correct option out here. Ratna, you are bang on. Sibili, you are bang on. Indumati, you are bang on. Shomo, you have chosen for option C again. Sai, option B. Sriram, bang on. Okay, so let's see what is the correct option and also the thought process behind this particular question. Let me pull in the pointer. And here we go. So, while coordinating delivery work, one of the client stakeholders shows resistance. Okay, so now you are coordinating the delivery work with one of the client stakeholders, and while doing that, one of them as such goes ahead and shows resistance. Now, the agile project manager begins to suspect that the automation involved in the delivery product might have made the stakeholder's role obsolete. Now you see that there are only a couple of sentences out here, but there are a lot of things to go ahead and understand. So even without understanding, please don't jump forward and start choosing any of the options, because you start panicking if things don't make sense. Take your time, read the question. Even if you take say 30 to say 50 seconds to understand the question, choosing the option is just the matter of 5 to 10 seconds. So the more you invest time in reading and understanding the question properly, lesser time you go ahead and take in choosing the option. Is very, very important. So don't at any point of time underestimate the value of reading the question in entirety in first go, end to end. Then only go ahead and look for the relevant options. So what is the question saying out here? While coordinating the work, so you have several stakeholders out here. One of the stakeholders goes ahead and shows resistance, saying that I don't want to do the work. Why does he show resistance? Now when the agile project manager starts thinking about the why, or she goes ahead and begins to suspect that the automation involved in the delivered product might have made the stakeholders role obsolete. So whatever automation being involved in the product that might have made this particular stakeholder's role obsolete, has because of which he or she is continuously going ahead and resisting this particular change. Now, which of the following methods would be most effective to help deal with the resistance? Now I am fully clear with the question. Let's go ahead and move on to the options. Guide the stakeholders to explain their concerns and ensure full transparency. Absolutely the point. It's all about guiding, remember, from the agile perspective. So whenever you go out and get to see any keyword, pertaining to guide or facilitate or even coach, so any of these options, would be very, very strong options. I'm not saying that those will be the options all the time, but whenever you go ahead and see any such options, keep in mind or bear in mind that invariably that has some or the other materials or ingredients for being the best option whatsoever. So always ballpark such options at your end from agile perspective. Okay, so next, moving on to option B, directly express empathy to the stakeholder to gain cooperation. So it is as good as oiling the relevant stakeholders. You are going ahead and saying that, yeah, I understand your concern. Yeah, automation certainly is going ahead and getting replaced by something new. So, why not, we go ahead and discuss it, offline, or, let's go ahead and ballpark it for the time being. Whatever queries you have, you will definitely go ahead and get some new opportunities from our end. All these facets, you are empathizing, you're trying to fit yourself in the shoes of the stakeholder and trying to see whether you can go ahead and gain cooperation from the stakeholder to go ahead and make sure that he or she doesn't provide any resistance. Would that be the best way possible? Well, let's see. Option C, let the stakeholder know that their cooperation and patience are well appreciated. Okay, so what difference do you get to see between these two options? Are there any differences? You are trying to empathize vis-a-vis you going out and letting them know that you have their or they have your cooperation, and obviously the patience that they have shown up until now are well appreciated. In fact, you are doing both of these to go ahead and try to gain cooperation, right? So what difference these two options goes ahead and makes. Now, option D, request the client to change this client stakeholder, creating resistance to avoid project delays. Now it's going on and saying that wheresoever you find this resistance, eliminate that, nip that in the bud. Would you go ahead and follow such kind of rules or mechanisms at any point of time? No. Remember, very, very important, when you are in an agile team, you will have to be open, you will have to be flexible, you will have to be adaptive to any changes, any requirements that comes your way. So likewise, in one of my other or previous live sessions, we were discussing about a question where, some of the other requirement came into the picture. Some compliance related requirements. If any one of you go ahead and correctly remember that particular question, some compliance requirements came in play. Now, you from the agile team are supposed to go ahead and adhere to the compliance requirements, are supposed to go ahead and adapt to whatever the requirements come along your way. You are never supposed to go ahead and just, turn your back and move ahead your own way. No, never. So option D gets ruled out here. Now, options A, B, and C, of course, make sense. But then, as I said, if you compare all these three options, if you choose for option B, would you not choose for option C? Or if you choose for option C, would you not choose for option B? Because in both of these ways, you're trying to fit yourselves into the shoes of the stakeholder and trying to go ahead and gain cooperation out here as well as out here. But very importantly, you're not taking care of ensuring this, which is one of the pillars in Agile, ensuring transparency. So out here, if you see option A has several facets which makes it the best and the standout answer which is possible in this scenario. Guiding the stakeholders, full transparency are fully in line with the agile, concepts, and also definitely the PMI way of thinking. So if you see out here, if you compare all these three options, just going and empathizing to gain cooperation might be insufficient in lieu of you ensuring full transparency and letting or guiding the stakeholders to express their concerns and see how best they can go ahead and adapt into your work arena whatsoever. Now, your job in an agile team is not to go ahead and just do away with someone's work. No, never, not at all. Why will you go ahead and just ensure that someone is not involved in your team? Absolutely not. You are going to welcome them at all possible points of time. You are supposed to go ahead and extend your hands of cooperation with them. But to ensure that, you need to ensure that all the pillars in agile are as is, are in their place whatsoever. And you go ahead and take the team forward. The pillars of agile, one of which is full transparency, is maintained. You guiding them on top of those pillars. Obviously, the way forward to go ahead with. Option A makes full sense out here. None of the other options stand even close to what option A goes ahead and suggest the best option definitely out of the lot. Now remember, options B and C are not incorrect, but if you compare with A, none of these go ahead and stand a chance. So go ahead and mark A as the right option, move ahead. So let's see. So as you see out here, active listening and transparency are vital to gain trust. Yeah, so transparency, trust, all these facets are very, very important in agile. Lack of transparency results in mistrust, which is often the root cause of resistance. You have resistance because of lack of transparency. Lack of transparency generates mistrust, which you cannot afford at any point of time in agile environment. So you'll have to somewhere down the line gain trust. And for that, active listening and transparency, very, very important. What's your any questions? Yeah, oiling is against the code of conduct. That's an awesome way to go ahead and put it forward. Okay, so Sai goes ahead and says the C is ruled out because, let's see, because stakeholder is resisting, so not cooperating. I won't say that as such directly, Sai. Yeah, absolutely, they are resisting. So you are asking kind of their cooperation whatsoever. It's not that you are rejecting them because they are not cooperating. In fact, option D as such seamlessly falls in line with your way of thinking, Sai. Option D goes ahead and says that get done with the stakeholders because they are resisting. Okay, so anyone else have any other questions on this particular question? Okay, let's move ahead. Here goes your next question. Okay, so last 10 seconds. Okay, so you're done with the time. Any options, anyone? Awesome, guys. I see many of you going out and nailing it. And Dikshit, you're definitely on a roll. Don't worry, Sibley. I will go ahead and explain this question. Awesome, Prashant. Great, Aman. Great, Ganeshwar. Okay, Gautam Paul still thinks it's C. Let's see. Chalapati, D. Okay, so let's dig deep into the question. Let's see what it's all about. Okay, so you are part of an agile team that excels at solving technical problems. Okay. Now, the team, however, remains silent when the product owner asks for creative or business related ideas. What do you think is the problem, if at all there is a problem? In fact, the question asks, do you think that it is a problem? All the questions out here goes out and starts with no, not at all, and then the relevant explanation. Yes, it is a problem, and then the relevant explanations. So first, let's see whether it's a yes or a no. That is, whether it's a problem or not a problem. If it is a problem, then both the options which has no, it is not a problem will get ruled out. If it is not a problem, then both the options which has yes as the option will get ruled out. So very easy out here, and just try to eliminate as many options as you possibly can at the outset itself. So here it is talking about you being part of the agile team that excels at solving technical problems. Yeah, so say you are a team of six, and all these team members out here in the agile team excel excel at problem solving. Everyone is an excellent player out here. Now there is a problem to that as well. Yeah, so it's not all the time that you possibly have, say for example, Virat Kohli is only in the team. It's not necessarily that only having superstar or mega stars inside the team would be ensuring awesome success for your team. No, and that's what we'll go ahead and understand in this particular question. Now, everyone, being super at solving technical problems, remain silent when, say, for example, the product owner goes out and asks for creative or business related ideas. Now, if product owner goes out and asks for creative or even business related ideas out there, the team goes out and still remains silent. Now, the same team, which is a super performer out here, or excels at solving technical problems, why do they have to go out and remain silent? Might be that they might think that they are self-sufficient, or even the product owners questions are irrelevant, or even say for example they don't wish to open out because the other team members will get to know from them. Could be n number of reasons. Well, we can go ahead and point out several reasons, but that's not the point out here. They remain silent even though they are excellent performers. Now what do you think? Is this a problem at all? Absolutely, this is a problem, right? You are part of an agile team. So you are part of an agile team out here. And in agile, your performance is supreme, reigns supreme. You always have to think from the perspective of you going ahead with a highly productive team out there. And at each and every point, continuous improvement is something which you are looking forward to, which is also precisely why you continuously inspect and adapt. Inspect whether there is any chance of you improving your performance, and then adapt and then move ahead, with obviously maintaining the pillars like transparency, or such as transparency. Remember that. Even the agile manifesto also comes in play. I have gone ahead and discussed in details about agile manifesto in one of my last weekly sessions, so you can feel free to surf any of our YouTube videos in the same regard. So just remember all these principles out here. Now the team remaining silent, although they have the potential to be highly productive, is obviously a recipe of a problem. So both the options A and C, which says that no, this is not a problem, gets ruled out. Let's now go ahead and see options B and D. Okay, so our probability of going ahead and marking the question correctly gets risen till 50% from the initial 25, which is great. So now let's see in option B. It talks about yes, this is a problem. Teams that excel are prone to higher error rates. Now you are somehow down the line giving the explanation to the problem and saying that that it's kind of not cause to effect. It's rather, I would say, effect to cause kind of relationship. So you're seeing this problem out here, and you're trying to justify this problem by saying that teams which excel go ahead and have higher error rates whatsoever. You're just coming out with some random explanation. So B by itself gets ruled out, but still you'll still have to go ahead and see what D talks about. Yes, it is a problem. Team is unable to adapt owing to lack of diversity and or openness. Now, what does this lack of diversity mean? Is it gender diversity or geographic diversity or which diversity? So, from this question, you'll have to come out with the assumption that all the team comprising of only excellent players, goes ahead and opens out chances of lack of diversity. You need to have diversity in your team. You need to have a team who is open to all the facets and all the questions. Then only your team will be able to somewhere down the line go ahead with higher productivity. Why? Because you need to have someone who is looking up to someone for knowledge. That's how the communication flows. And once that kind of trust goes in and builds in the team, it somewhere down the line not only helps generate the respect for that particular subject matter expert, it also somewhere down the line goes out and helps that expert communicate in a better way to everyone or with everyone who goes in and reaches that particular person. So let those experts be open, and also, very importantly, let them have this diversity out there in the team from any respect whatsoever. That will definitely open the team towards T-shaped skills, increased collaboration, and obviously a sure shot recipe towards high levels of productivity. There, so option D is the best option and is the standout amongst all the options out here. Let's go ahead and see. So as you see, agile teams require cross-functional team members that allow the team to work more independently and adapt to changing needs. You need T-shaped people out there. You need people, who are diverse across, various facets. So everyone, say for example, if he is good at one particular skill, it becomes a challenge for that particular team to go ahead and cater to some requirement which requires other skills as well. So you need to have these T-shaped or cross-functional or generalized specialists kind of team members who'd actually go out and help you in this way. Great done, all of you who have gone ahead and selected option D out here. Okay, so Shomo out here goes on and says that here PO is saying something creative idea related to the business. Okay, can't it be considered a problem? My thought process was that team is listening, their PO and specialist is more effective. So PO is saying something creative or idea related to the business. Yes, absolutely. So, why can that be a problem? See, we are not, very importantly, we are not going ahead and having someone barred from making any comments. He's just making comments. He's not poking his or her nose into any state of affairs. I understand the PO or the product owner should be confined or should be restricted towards stuffs which are pertaining to the product. Yeah, well and good, but then very importantly, the product owner is open to go ahead and share any creative ideas whatsoever which the team can go ahead and take up. Even the scrum master is open to make some suggestions to the product owner as well in terms of product backlog refinement. No one is stopping anyone to go ahead and take forward for that. Yeah, so that has to be the right way of thinking whatsoever. So remember, everyone needs to be open. Everyone needs to be open, rather transparent. Everyone needs to have a collaborative outlook towards each and everyone else. And if that's not the case, then let's make all the efforts in play, or let's have all the efforts in play to ensure that. You go ahead and have highest productivity possible. Okay, so Puneet says, is this question linked to what one thinks? um, as I went ahead and mentioned a few minutes back as well, you need to go ahead and confine yourself to the context of the question. I'm talking from PMP perspective, not any other exam. So now, in the context of the question, someone has gone ahead, like product owner has gone ahead and suggested. So if you say that suggestion as something what one thinks, okay, so you're well and good to go ahead and take it forward. Yes, absolutely. So what I think, I'm open to share. No one is barring me from sharing what I go ahead and think. My thought process is, after all, my thought process. I am unique with that. Why not I propose any suggestion to someone inside the team? Yes, absolutely. The role needs to be segregated. No one is going ahead and combining the roles whatsoever. Never ever, let a scrum master go ahead and take the roles of a product owner. Remember, that's never recommended in Scrum or Agile. Never ever go ahead and, interrelate the roles. But then it is also not going ahead and only fine tuning or just asking the product owner to, not comment anything other than the product. Yes, of course, he can go ahead and even comment on the process. That's okay. That's okay. But from agile perspective, who will be suggesting on the process or whose words will be taken as final or vital? It will be Scrum Master, not the product owner. But having said that, the product owner is welcome to make comments on the process. No one is stopping him or her. Likewise, the Scrum Master is also welcome to make any comment on the product backlog refinement or any process pertaining to the product. But then the product owner's words will stay as supreme in terms of going ahead and having the product backlog in place. See, at the end of the day, it's all about a highly productive team which Agile goes ahead and advocates, and that's why, or that's where increased collaboration goes ahead and comes in lieu of everyone going ahead and working as a team and gelling. So let's not have those shields, or let's not have those silos whatsoever, where people don't even talk about some idea, talking about some idea, and listening to someone as the person to look forward to for approval is an entirely different ball game altogether. Might overlap in some points. You might say the scrum master might come and talk to the product owner about the product, and the product owner might go ahead and take forward that suggestion or option. Absolutely fine. Okay, so Pino asked for ideas. Naga has said is not recommended for an agile team to keep silent. Instead, share the thoughts for a productive session. Absolutely, bang on, Naga. Absolutely. So let's share the thoughts for productive session whatsoever. Why not? It's just being open to any thoughts or ideas, not stopping or not nipping some idea at the butt. Absolutely, brilliantly put forward, Naga. I hope Puneet, your query is resolved. Let's move on to the next question. Okay, and here you go. Last 10 seconds. Brilliant answers, all of you guys. You are certainly rocking the show. I presume, I might go ahead and invite some of you instead of me out here to go ahead and explain the answer to this question. I find so many of you going ahead and answering this particular question correctly, which is awesome. You guys know what definition of done is all about. Let's go ahead and see what the question talks about. Isaac, Sarfara, Stephen, Prashant, Avinash, Ratna. Awesome. Okay, let's dig deep into the question. In the last three iterations, the agile team has surpassed the planned number of stories. Now, by following which of the following measures can the project manager be sure that all the work performed is truly complete? So, how can you be sure that all the work that has been performed is actually complete? Now, the planned number of stories, say for example, was 30. You have gone ahead and got done with 40 stories. Okay, well and good. You have gone out and done with 40 stories, which is a great thing, which you are going out and performing more than what you had committed. But then again, yeah, outside the context of this question, this also calls for you to improve in terms of estimating it properly in terms of your bandwidth whatsoever. But then for the current context of the question, this is a good thing that has happened. So you might have gone ahead and planned for the bandwidth. You might have underestimated your bandwidth as well, or it was your average velocity at the previous sprints, but still you went ahead and delivered much more than what you were supposed to deliver. That's perfectly fine. Now, by which of the following measures can the project manager make sure that all this work which you are claiming to be done, has actually been performed or not? That's the question out here. Let's see what are the options. Verify that the results of all the performed tests are in order whatsoever. So verify the results of all the performed tests. Now, very, very important. So you going ahead and verifying the results of the performed test whatsoever has already been taken care of if you are getting done with the stories. It's not about the number of tests that pass. It's all about whether those tests goes ahead and fulfills your acceptance criteria or not. Whether the acceptance criteria is being covered by these tests and whether you are going ahead and going ahead and testing or checking each and every facet of the user stories, whatever you have committed or delivered. So verifying the results of the performed tests won't be an option out here because the tests have already been performed beforehand. Now, if you had gone ahead and claimed that you have gone ahead and successfully completed the stories, chances are high that if the tests are good and is also adhering to, say, for example, the definition of done, you need not worry. But then just verifying the results of the performed test won't be helpful whatsoever. What are you going to see by the results of the test? You're not going to test code coverage or any other facet whatsoever from the software developer's point of view, right? You're not doing that. Option A gets ruled out. We'll again get back to option A later as well. Option B, instruct the team members to verify each other's work. Absolutely not. Whenever you go ahead and get to see such kind of options, think to yourself, how can I in an agile team go ahead and ask someone else to go ahead and verify the work for me? Is it that we don't trust each other? Never ever. We are a self organized team. We are a collaborative team. We are a team which is having t-shaped skills. So anyone and everyone who is going ahead and getting done with a particular work, has definitely, the confidence of the team as well in him or her. Now, if say for example some of the other thing gets wrong or wrongly committed, from his or her end, then it will be the responsibility and the accountability of this particular team member to bring that particular thing in shape again. You have to own the responsibility if you make any mistake. But then collectively, from the team perspective, you are going ahead and trusting each and everyone's work in entirety. So any such option which goes ahead and showcases the team member to verify each other's work can directly be ruled out. Option C, cross-check results against the definition of done. Absolutely the point which is vital out here. Now, definition of done happens to be a checklist or a list of criteria of options which needs to be obeyed in entirety to make that particular story or stories demoable to the client. Now, what do I mean by that? Are the stories passing the acceptance criteria, or are the stories going ahead and passing the unit tests or even the manual test? Have all the approvals been done or are in place before you go ahead and demo that particular story to the customer? Now, if and only if all these criteria go ahead and suffice, then only that story will be marked as demoable and will be demoed to the client or the customer. Now, it is not clear out here in the question whether you have gone ahead and demoed to the client or not. So, for the timing, let's see that you have planned for 30 and you have gone ahead and are claiming to have got done with 40. And now is the facet or the point where you are checking whether those stories are demoable or not. So, what best you can go ahead and check for? It's obviously the definition of done out here, right? Inquire the product owner of if he or she is satisfied with the results. Obviously, not only the product owner, is the person who will be satisfied with the results. It's also about the client. Now, the product owner can be the client in your organization, may not be the client in your organization. So, you can't go ahead and safely assume this. So, even D gets ruled out. So verifying the results of the performed tests are not only important. You going ahead and verifying the results against the definition of done criteria is far more important. In fact, options B and D can be right away ruled out, but options A and C were still close to one another. But if you go ahead and see, definition of done makes much more sense with a lot more coverage than only option A. So obviously, option C is the best or the standout option out here. So let's click on option C. And as you see, the definition of done is the checklist of the criteria that each and every user story needs to mandatorily suffice to be eligible to be marked as completed. So if you are boasting or if you are saying that you have completed more than what you have committed, let us go ahead and first check that as per the definition of done criteria, whether you are in place in terms of delivering the feature. Then only we will be going ahead and safely branding it as done from your end or perspective, isn't it? Okay, so any questions? Okay. So Calvin, a brilliant question out here. What is the answer if it is in waterfall approach? Okay, so first and foremost thing, there is no concept of stories in waterfall. There are also no concept of iterations in waterfall. In waterfall, you know the scope in entirety. So chances are high or odds are high that whatever you will go ahead and attain, or rather whatever you will go ahead and plan, you will definitely go ahead and attain the same. That's something which you'll have to know at the outset. Now, if you say, for example, have gone ahead and surpassed whatever you had planned at the outset for waterfall, and then you have to go ahead and check what exactly are the key things out there, or how what all you went ahead and got done. You just have to verify the test whatsoever. That's it. Because you know very well that once you hit the tests, you have already completed whatever was planned, and you can just safely verify the test whatsoever out there. Again, in hybrid, well, you will have to go ahead and obviously come out with certain degree of validating the scope and the relevant things whatsoever out there. But then again, depends on what extent of hybrid approach you are incorporating inside the team. Cross checking is definitely good in agile, but whenever you're going ahead and talking about agile concepts, it's all about you thinking from the perspective of the definition of done. Very, very important to go ahead and keep in mind. So if you are going ahead and ticking all the boxes of definition of done, you are in safe zone whatsoever. There is no checklist in the waterfall concept or way of thinking whatsoever. Why? Because you have the requirement at entirety known end to end, with which you go ahead and start. You have the scope known. Then after that, you go ahead and plan for the relevant work to be done. That is, whatever the scope you had committed, you plan for the scope getting done end to end. And now, as per the plan, which is a definitive kind of estimate, yeah, with very less deviations feasible from any of those plans, you start the work, and you're supposed to go ahead and cater to each and every of these facets day in and day out and get done. Now, take an example. That would be the best way to go ahead and explain this particular facet. Just the construction of a building. So construction of a building or a flat out here, is the perfect example out here from waterfall concept or perspective. So if, say, for example, you get done with the rooms even before the time whatever was allotted. Say the time was allotted till September, you already got done with the rooms by August itself. What will you do at entirety? So whenever you get such a kind of a question, fit yourself in the example and try to go ahead and see what will you do in normal cases. So you'll obviously go ahead and verify whether all the facets or all the key things out there would be ticked rightly or properly. There's no definition of done whatsoever from that perspective. You have to be more careful about the list of criteria or the items which you need to be careful about in agile, because it's far more complex than waterfall. But here definitely you will perform the test and get all the scope whatever was delivered validated. So, the best place to go ahead and see fun in waterfall is definitely, the test whatever you have performed. Are those QC verified, and are those, ISO 9001 verified? Whatever the materials you have gone ahead and placed, or, howsoever you have gone ahead and given the finishing to the rooms. If yes, then as absolutely. It also depends on what all options you get. Let me put it that way as well. If at all it's being asked in a, yeah, QC is going on and taking forward. So remember, control quality is all about the product. So if you're thinking from the product perspective, then definitely it falls in play. Absolutely. It depends now on the context of the thing that's being given in the question. There are a lot of things to consider, and there are several ifs and buts as well. So it entirely depends how it's subjective on the question, whatever you go ahead and get. So verified product in waterfall before monitoring and controlling, yes, absolutely. But then monitoring and controlling is a continuous process, right? So you definitely go ahead and get to go ahead and move along with the core scheme of things when it's in waterfall. Let's move on to the next question. Okay, and here you go. Okay, so any options, anyone? Okay, so Santosh says A. Okay, a couple of options which are C. Okay, so I also see a question from the previous question itself, which goes ahead and asks whether the team hadn't performed the demos. Well, that's yeah, not explicitly given, but you can go ahead and see or assume from the question as well that yeah, it is not yet demoed. They have just got done, and they were going ahead and seeing whether in shape or not, or rather, the manager was seeing whether the things are in shape or not. Okay, so I like that. I like that answer from Naga. See, little close, but not 100% comfortable. That's perfectly fine. Okay. Okay, so I see a mix and match of all the options out here, and it's a very interesting question. So let's see what the option is. Many of you have gone ahead and rightly guessed what the option is. Let me give that hint, and let's dig deep into the question. Okay, let me pull in the pointer, and here you go. Your agile team has been given the task to come up with a senior friendly version of a smartphone e commerce application. Okay. Now, even after a lot of marketing efforts, one hasn't been able to find any volunteer tests users fit for the profile. Now, very, very important question out here, and you might be, getting such relevant questions out there, at least from the thought processes as well, featuring in the real exam. You never know. Now, if you are supposed to come out with an application which is senior friendly version as such of some of the other important product, and you see that even after a lot of marketing efforts you haven't been able to find out any tests, any test users who go out and fit the profile. The best people possible would be your own people, right, who actually can go out and fit anyone from the demographic or even the age profile, whom you are going out and talking about. In fact, the demographic profile will comprise of all these facets, whatever the age or the exact set of people whom you are looking forward to. So if you are not getting the test users for your test, how about you going out and resorting to your own relatives for the same? So, which of the following options would be the most effective one to ensure that the best product value gets delivered? Now, you'll have to ensure that the best product value gets delivered. So, the option A goes ahead and says instruct the team to run friendly tests with senior relatives. Absolutely, goes ahead and makes sense because you are tasked to go ahead and have test users whatsoever who fit the profile. Now, if you go ahead and perform these friendly tests with those whom you know, then obviously it's kind of a fit. Although you didn't officially have these set of people out there, but still you have someone from your own relative to go ahead and get this job done. You have to get this job done in any way whatsoever, and for that you need to go ahead and fit into the shoes. You need to adapt to the real mindset and take it forward. Okay, so if you see option B, ask the team to inquire senior relatives as to what all price points they want. Then the question is never asking about the price points. Even though you approach the senior relatives out here for help, it's not the price points that's being asked for, right? So option B gets ruled out. Option C, evaluate similar competitor products. Now, the question out here is something which you need to go ahead and first identify. It's not about the similar kind of competitor products which you are on the lookout for. You are on the lookout for test users. So it's not that you have gone ahead and come out with the competitor product whatsoever, and you go ahead and see whether or how you are faring against the competitor product whatsoever. It doesn't go ahead and fill out all the criteria out there from the test perspective. Remember, when we talk about user stories in agile, all those are from the user's perspective, isn't it? The users will go ahead and make use of the application at their end to end, and then only they will go ahead and pass on the comments and go ahead and ask the developers to again go ahead and work on the the comments and get back with the better version as per their need or want. That's how we go ahead and fine tune our requirement as close as possible to the user's requirement, and finally deliver the user's requirement in entirety. So the users are be all and end all out here from agile perspective, right? The value the product goes out and delivers is also focused towards the users itself. And out here, we need to go ahead and find out those users with whom we can go ahead and test this product. So if we go ahead and evaluate similar competitor products whatsoever, it's not doesn't fit into the question whatsoever is being asked. You have to find out the users, not the products whatsoever. Gets ruled out. Get the eyeglasses removed when testing the user interface. Absolutely, out of the question. So have you seen how I have gone ahead and ruled out these three options? Option A is a standout option. Even though option B goes ahead and talks about senior relatives, even if it goes ahead and talks in somewhat the similar direction what we need, but still it is not be covering all the necessary nitty-gritties. In fact, talks about the price point as because of which you can rule this out. Option A is the standout option out here. So let's go ahead and mark this. And as you see, the option goes ahead and says that up and over the formal data collection procedures, Agile favors user feedback. In fact, it's all based on feedback. The users goes ahead and gives, right? That's why we go ahead and continually inspect and adapt. The users go ahead and come back with their feedback, and we go ahead and kind of work on their feedback, make the product even better, and come out with the relevant option. Okay, so I see there is a question on how could someone find their own problems. No, it's not about finding their own problems whatsoever. You are just giving, say, for example, the product to some random person. Now, just take an example out here. Say, you come out with a new smartphone out here, and that is new smartphone product, which the question is being, asked about, and you go ahead and hand it over to your grandmom to go ahead and handle it. Now you are not possibly targeting those set of users, or if say for example for the timing you are going ahead and targeting those set of users, user friendly it is he or she going ahead and able to go ahead and get her work done out there by making use of the smartphone? If yes, well and good, it seamlessly fits in. But then if you see that she is going and struggling continuously to get his or her work done, then how come you can go ahead and not take it forward? So obviously you'll have to take into consideration the feedback whatsoever and then come out with the necessary steps. No worries, Somo. You can go ahead and connect with me, and I will go ahead and explain it further. Okay. So any other doubts? Any other queries on this particular question? Okay, so how come senior friendly app is friendly test with seniors? Okay, that's brilliantly put by Aman out here. Let's get back to the question again. And here you go. Okay, so very, very important. Now, the senior friendly app which you are delivered is catering to the requirements of the seniors out there, the senior profile out there, the senior profile users. Now, you for any chance or any reason whatsoever haven't been able to get hands on the senior users. So, what will you do as a replacement, or what strategy will you adopt as a replacement? Obviously, you will try to find out someone from your own family or your own acquaintance who fits into the test profiles, right? And that's how you go ahead and take it forward, isn't it? So that's the reason as to why you instruct the team to run friendly tests with senior relatives. In a sense that you hand that app over to the senior relatives and ask them to come out with their observations. That's how you can go ahead and improve on your product, isn't it? That's what the question is asking for, nothing else. Even if it's still not clear, again, feel free to reach me out if you have any queries anytime. Let's move on to the next question. Okay, and here goes the timer. Okay, so you have a lot of D's. That is good. Okay, so there's one option. There's Ankita who has gone ahead and mentioned about option A. Anyone has any other options out there from your end? Okay, so A or D, huh? Okay, so had PMI gone ahead and given the option to choose between either of the two options, hadn't that been great? Yes, absolutely, I go ahead and agree. It's either between A or D. Those are the closest options possible. But then, which is the correct option? Let's go ahead and dig deep into the question. Okay, let me pull in the option or the pointer out here. Yeah. So now XYZ Incorporation is losing market share to disruptive competitors who keep coming up with new business models. Okay. Now the agile team is instructed to restrict the number of features and get them to the market faster. In which of the following ways can the agile team best help endure the same? Now, someone that is your corporation is losing the market share to disruptive competitors, the competitors who are kind of creating a disruption, and who keep coming up with newer and newer business models. Now, the team has gone out and instructed to restrict the number of features and get them to the market faster. Don't have many features, but only go for features which are the most important one, and then get those directly to the market faster. Now, whenever you go out and get to see this term, get to the market faster, remember very, very importantly that you are talking about or thinking about the incremental life cycle. You will be delivering very, very important deliveries in the form of small increments to the customer. Make them suffice with whatever product you have, which goes ahead and somewhat gives you an edge over the competitors who happen to be disruptive as well. I will go to the disruptive facet later, but let's just deal with the competitors right now. So which gives you an edge to the competitors and helps take you forward the product end to end. Now, in which of the following ways can the agile team go out and best help endure the same? First option, option A, reprioritize the sprint backlog and work on the smallest and simplest user stories at first. Now, very, very important, very, very important out here. You can definitely go ahead and reprioritize whatsoever the backlog, but then there are a couple of facets to understand out here. Isn't it the sprint backlog that you will be delivering it entirety at the end of the sprint? You have two backlogs, right? You have product backlog at the start, which you go ahead and continuously refine as such, and you have the sprint backlog with which you go ahead and get started with the work of the sprint. So if, say for example, this circle represents the sprint, so you have the sprint backlog to get started with the work, right? So once you have gone ahead and started with the sprint backlog at the start of the sprint, are you supposed to go ahead and have reshuffling of the items out there in this sprint backlog? The reshuffling in the sense you going ahead and getting more items from the product backlog? No, right? You can definitely go ahead and prioritize and reprioritize whatsoever, but then you'll have to go and get done with the work in the scope of the sprint. Remember, it's not until the end of the sprint that you will be going ahead and getting those features out to the competitors whatsoever. So what difference does it make if you go ahead and work on the smallest stories first? Doesn't make sense, right? If all the entirety or in entirety, none of the or not the entire sprint backlog gets delivered to the customer. It's not about the smallest and the simplest of the stories. It's about the stories which goes ahead and gives you value add in terms of the, say, the minimum viable product could be, or some increment which definitely adds value to the customer. It can be smallest and simplest. There is no two ways to that. But it's not always only the smallest and the simplest stories which you will be looking at. Just getting done with the stories doesn't always go ahead and fit such kind of a scenario out here. I'll still go back and come back to this particular option. It's a very interesting option to go ahead and study or read about. Option B, reduce the increments to go ahead and enable faster product releases. Now, nowhere, absolutely, it's going ahead and mentioning about reducing the increments. Now, you need more and more increments, right? Why will you go ahead and reduce the increments? Now, this first, part of the sentence itself is dubious. Just ignore. Option C, update the product vision to reflect a user-defined or user-driven release roadmap whatsoever. Now, is it about the vision that's causing any problem out here? You have to come out with a product, which is standing against disruptive competitors, and the requirement to you is to come out with or restrict the number of features whatsoever and get them to the market faster. Now, while doing the restriction of the features, will you go ahead and ignore those features which are very vital and go ahead with only the ones which are smallest or simplest, or go ahead with coming out with features which are aligned with the product vision? Haven't you done that whatsoever? No clue has been given in the question whether you have gone ahead and aligned yourself to the product vision or not. So why will you think at all of vision whatsoever? When you are starting, the chances are high that you must be having product backlog aligned to the vision, even the sprint backlog aligned to the vision as well. The question goes ahead and says you have to restrict the number of features and come out with increments which definitely goes ahead and adds value to the customer. Option C gets ruled out. Option D, very, very important. Prioritize the backlog to deliver basic functionality in small increments. Precisely the one or the cycle which talks about incremental mode of thinking, isn't it? So you go ahead and prioritize the backlog to deliver the basic functionality in small increments and help you deliver, whatever the work you are considering or comprising. Let's, just go ahead and rethink about this question, whatever is given. Disruptive competitors, you will have to go ahead and stand out to them. You'll have to go ahead and restrict the number of features, not compromising on them being small or even simple. There should never be any compromise on these two facets. You should be delivering features of highest value. Let's prioritize on that facet. That's perfectly fine. And get them to the market faster. Now, what cycle goes ahead and helps me attain that? It's incremental. So any of these options which fits into incremental gives me the option. So now reprioritizing the sprint backlog by first and foremost thing might not be ensuring that I am going ahead and restricting the number of features and coming out with the features which gives me or drives the highest of the values, right? It has also nowhere to do anything with the incremental kind of approach. Even the smallest and simplest stories are not my way to go forward. Option A gets knocked out. Reducing the increments to enable faster product releases also, that doesn't stand a chance as we went ahead and discussed. Product vision, well, the backlog is definitely aligned to the product vision. But again, why to update the product vision to user-driven release roadmap? Nowhere in the question it is written that you are not going ahead with, adhering to the users. Prioritize the backlog to the basic functionality in small increments. Of course, it stands in close unison to this incremental life cycle. Let's select the best option out here. And as you see, as per Agile Manifesto, the first principle happens to focus on the highest priority to satisfy the customer through early and continuous delivery of valuable software. And that's what we precisely go ahead and ensure by delivering basic functionality in small increments. Go ahead and deliver that. Achieve, somewhat what we go ahead and attain in the incremental life cycles. That's precisely what will not only help you stand, against the competitors, but also will help save your face with, the instruction that the agile team has received in terms of restricting the features. Okay, so what we have as questions out here. Yes, absolutely, Dikshit. Okay, so Calvin has gone ahead and pointed out that this is boss driven, not user driven. Well, I am not fully aware of the context as to what he is going ahead and referring out here, but we can definitely get in touch after the session, should you wish to, Calvin, if you need more clarity on this particular question. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. As you see, let me start the pointer, and here you go. That's it for this question. Any options? Okay, so I see D, I see C. Amardeep, that's a brilliant question. As I also mentioned and touched base on this particular facet earlier as well, from the reprioritization perspective, you'll go ahead and have to go ahead and think from the perspective of what a product backlog is, what a sprint backlog is. Very important to first distinguish between these two. Now, the product backlog is aligned to the product roadmap. It is going ahead and taking care of all your features in a prioritized sequence. Now, these priorities can go ahead and get changed at any point of time, which is why the order of the items can also go ahead and get refined at any point of time. Now, when I say the refinement of the product backlog, it also goes and refers to some of the other items which are not still relevant getting moved out or just removed from the product backlog, exited or trashed from the backlog. You can't do the same in sprint backlog. Now, in sprint backlog refinement, there is no refinement in terms of you prioritizing something high or you prioritizing something low. All the items are of high priority. That's the reason as to why you have gone ahead and factored in the scope of the sprint. Now you might go ahead and choose to get done with some features early, some features later. But at the end of the day, you will have to go ahead and get done with all the features at the end of the sprint. There is no trashing of the features from the sprint backlog. That's the difference between the two. Product backlog in entirety, getting done with my releases, milestones, and even the client's vision whatsoever from the product perspective. Sprint backlog restricted only to the scope of the sprint. Sprint upon sprint upon sprint. Okay, so now let's go into this question and see what it is talking about. I see A, B, C, and D, all four options out here. Let's see what's this question all about. So me pull in my pointer, and here you go. So you are the product owner of an agile team. Get to know from the legal team that another company owns a patent for an innovation used in your team's product, which is currently 60% complete. Which of the following means should be carried out by you to help determine the appropriate way forward? Now, very important, you need to first understand what this question is talking about. Until unless you fully understand, you can't go ahead with the options. So let me again go ahead and explain and again throw open the poll for all of you and feel free to open or feel free to even change any of the options that you are going ahead and writing in chat. You are the product owner of an agile team. You get to know that the legal team that another company owns for an innovation used in your team's product, yeah, is 60% complete. Now, what does that mean is you are the product owner of a product, where you have gone ahead and incorporated some innovation whatsoever from the team's perspective. That is your team, your scrum team has gone ahead and worked on that product, come out with some innovation, but the legal team goes ahead and informs the product owner that hold on, this product is being owned by a separate company. The patent is there for a separate company whatsoever, and also this product is in the middle of completion. So what will you go ahead and do out there? Will you go ahead and completely stop and not do anything, or will you prioritize and reprioritize between what is aligned to the patent, what is not aligned to the patent, and just get done with the other things? Will you do that? So that's the question being asked here out here. Slightly tricky, but you need to go ahead and first understand what's the context of this particular question. Now, patent, in short, you can say that it's kind of a copyright, although there are differences between patent and copyright in from the legal terms. Just for the timing, you can just understand from the perspective of, if we go ahead and write some document and we have to own it ourselves without anyone going ahead and copying that, or having some of the other kind of derivations from that work whatsoever illegally or without my permission, so then it's a copyright violation. So likewise, if I am going ahead and coming out with a product which is kind of an innovation in the market, I might file for a patent, and if it gets approved, then I am the person who goes ahead and owns the product supremely. Whomsoever we go ahead and share the the knowledge about the product, definitely goes ahead and has the knowledge, but they will never be able to go ahead and have the patent of the product, even if they go ahead and recreate some. So we have the patent, meaning we have the rights of coming out of the product with the innovation whatsoever. So just go ahead and search about the patent. There's a lot of discussions whatsoever behind patent. Just giving you a high level information about the same. Now, which of the following ways in this particular scenario out here where you see that your team is working on a product whose patent is owned by a different company as such, and you having done 60% or you have got done with 60%, which of these ways would be the appropriate one to go ahead and take it forward? Option A. Even before going ahead with the options, let me see if okay. So Calvin has gone ahead and provided C and opted for A. Okay, Wasim, option C, Ganeshwar, option C. Okay, so let's see what the right explanation is for this question, or rather go into the options. Find out the markets where the patent is not registered by working with the legal team. Now, what does that have to do anything with this particular problem whatsoever? You might find out the markets where the patent is not registered whatsoever. Now, you launching the product in that market or even not launching, what difference is it going to make? Okay, so option B, terminate the project immediately to prevent further sunk costs. So you are already thinking that whatever the cost you are going at and incurring in coming out with the product whose patent is already there, is kind of a sunk cost. As though the product will never be able to stand in the market because someone else owns the patent for the product. Okay. Option C, continue work on the product after removing the patented component. Okay, so whatever the patented component is, you just remove that and you continue work with the product whatsoever. Would that be the best way possible or best go possible? Okay, after that, conduct or carry out marginal economic analysis and identify minimum releasable features. Now, very, very important out here to go ahead and realize. And there's a lot of discussion behind marginal economic analysis. This particular term might seem alien to you, but then this particular economic analysis helps you to go ahead and see where you are going at a standing in terms of the product at this kind of scenario, where you see that even if you have got ahead and got done with something, you don't own the patent. So you have to analyze as to what are the facets or what are the benefits that you still get from the product even if you have gone ahead and done. Might be that you come out with another product with slightly different innovation with a new product altogether with whatever the info that you have gone ahead and garnered. After all, never knowledge is waste. You can go ahead and come out with that. And when you have such kind of innovations and when you perform the economic analysis of such kind of innovations and also further go ahead and get to come out with minimum releasable features. Remember, minimum releasable features, MRF, are the set of features which are releasable whatsoever, releasable by your company, taking full care of the patent stuffs. You'll always have to come out with releases which don't clash with these patents whatsoever. If you go out and take care of that, then it's a win-win for you. Yeah. So again, going back to the options, finding out the market where the patent is not registered doesn't help you. What you do, whether if you launch or not launch in those markets. Terminate the project immediately is an extreme measure. You don't go ahead with that as such. In fact, it's not sunk cost until and unless you go ahead and perform the relevant economic analysis. Continue working on the product after removing the patented component whatsoever. Now, that you can definitely go ahead and do, but then you are again trying to jump to a step without performing the analysis. Every chance is that even if you go ahead and come out with the patented product, you might add on some extra features to that product and come out with a new innovation in entirety. So that innovation might have that some of the other features of the patented product. Well and good, but then you have your legal team to go ahead and instruct you whether that particular product is going to create any problem or not, isn't it? So why would you go ahead with option C? Absolutely not. So now out here, you might go ahead and say whether marginal economic analysis is inside the syllabus of PMP, is outside the syllabus of PMP. No one is going ahead and going to ask you about that inside the exam. But you might get such terms where you need to go ahead and make your best judgment out here and see what best suits out. In fact, minimum releasable features, which is just like MVP, which which stands for minimum viable product, but might be disruptive to the to the market, goes ahead and becomes an equally important term out here to go ahead and take care of. Just go ahead and research about these two concepts. There's a lot of things to discuss about these two features. If you are unclear about what these options are, feel free to reach me out at any point of time. So the standout option out here is option D. I understand this is a tough question. There might be several opinions, options, and questions that might be going on. Feel free to again reach me out if you have any doubts on this particular question. So let's mark this option. And as you see, marginal economic analysis helps determine if there is a viable way forward. Identifying minimal releasable features can mitigate the economic loss. Remember, it's all about mitigating the economic loss. We are not coming out with minimum viable products out there, because minimum viable products, might be acceptable to the market, might not be when, of course, in areas or situations where it's disrupted to the market. But minimum releasable features will definitely be accepted by the customer, because it's obviously releasable. Name itself goes on and suggests. Okay, no 60% completed. It is not possible to terminate. Yes, you can say that absolutely. If not only 60%, even 10%, 20% is completed as well. Why will you terminate the product? There has to be some of the other takeaways for you to go ahead and take it forward, and make it sound. Is profit margin economic analysis a tool and technique in the PMBOK guide or agile guide? Well, I can't go ahead and tell you which particular page from which particular guide or whatsoever. But then, chances are that even if you follow any of the guides, some of the other terms might fall outside the context of the guides as well. Which is why you need to go out and make your best judgment during the questions or during the examination. And if at all you meet such alien context or alien answers, make use of elimination technique as to how I used. Click the option, mark for review, move ahead. Don't waste more than 2 minutes for this question. Cost benefit analysis, yes, absolutely, Calvin. The cost benefit analysis can definitely be put forward out here. How much cost you have incurred vis-a-vis the benefits that you have got. Absolutely. So that performs or forms as part of the marginal economic analysis. Awesome, Zomo. So you have got it right, huh? That's really great. Okay. Okay, so there can be several facets, to this question. Even business case. Now, business case is, facet which you go ahead and take at the outset of the project, where you go ahead and study the feasibility of the product. You don't go ahead and start dealing with, directly, or right the situation, whatever you have gone ahead and encountered. It's during the execution of the project. So, business cases or the feasibility study is something which you have already taken care of way at the start. Why will you go ahead and still think about that? It's all about you going ahead and coming up again with the economic analysis and taking it forward end to end. Okay, so let's move ahead with the next question. And let me first make it full screen. Thank you, Chalapati. And here goes the timer. Awesome. So I see many of you knowing what a spike is. Absolutely, bang on. Everyone, Kaneko, Ganeshwar, Boishaki, Senthil, Calvin, B, spike to identify risk, reduce risk, and increase knowledge. Absolutely. Prashant, awesome. So I see you already know the answer why it is going to be option B. But still, let's go ahead and explain in entirety. Let me go ahead and take up the pointer. And here you go. So during user story estimation, our team is discussing about an item in the backlog. Okay. So you're performing estimation. Okay. And one of the items are being discussed. Okay. So now in the discussion, it becomes clear that the item can be implemented in varied ways, but the best way still isn't clear. Okay. So you are estimating the story. It becomes clear that the item can be done in varied ways, but which one of the following is the best way possible isn't clear. Now, which of the following should be done by the team to progress in this respect? Okay, go for the fastest alternative to the build. Now, is it the fastest alternative to the build being considered? Now, build is, by the way, kind of you releasing to the main release. So, as part of this build, you go ahead and deliver, say, for example, some XYZ features, and that becomes part of XYZ release. Now, is it that there is, you are being asked about coming out with the fastest alternative to a build? I don't think so. Let's go for option B. Make sure that you add a new spike item to the backlog. Absolutely. Why? Because you have to come out with an option to come or to get done with the item the best way possible out of the varied ways. Now, the ways can be, n number, can be 10, can be 12. Now, while estimating, you are not sure as to which of the following ways you should be adopting. It could be any one of, way or alternative A or C or D or E. Now, without going on knowing which alternative to go ahead and best take forward, will you be able to estimate? Is it possible for you to come out with story pointing for any of the stories, which where you don't know which best way to go ahead and take forward? Absolutely not, right? So obviously, for such kind of scenarios, you will have to come out with some research and development on which of the ways to be followed at start, and then only you can go ahead and take that story forward for estimation. Now, whenever we talk about an about a R&D, without you going ahead and knowing how much or what degree of efforts will be needed, then only comes the discussion of a spike item. So remember, if you go ahead and add a spike item to the backlog to factor in the analysis of the R&D to be taken care of, from the choosing of the waste perspective, has to be a spike item to take forward. Option C, go for the cheapest alternative to the build. Again, just like fastest, cheapest also obviously is not the, key thing being asked out here in the question. Make sure that you add ranked alternatives to the backlog. So, even this option goes ahead and says that you go ahead and add ranked alternatives to the backlog whatsoever, saying that, there are various options in the product backlog and you rank something, vis-a-vis something else whatsoever. Why would you do that? You anyways have the prioritized list of product backlog, right? Where all the high priority items are being taken care of inside your, sprint backlog and you are taking it forward. So neither the fastest nor the cheapest nor the ranked alternatives would serve the purpose out here. It's going to be option B, which is the standout option, and you'll have to go ahead and take it forward, right? So by virtue of elimination as well, it's only option B that stands out. And great done, all of you, whosoever has gone ahead and chosen B. Absolutely. So even in the scope of the sprint as well, we go ahead and add a spike. You have to go ahead and execute it, right? So now, say for example, if that story is very important for your team, and you need to do or perform some R&D to identify the best ways to get done with the story, still need to go ahead and factor it in the sprint, and you have to allocate that bandwidth separately at the point of sprint planning itself. Right. So from that perspective itself, even adding a spike in sprint backlog is perfectly fine. In fact, you add it to product backlog, you get it into the sprint backlog based on the priority of the item being talked about, and that's how you go ahead and take it forward, isn't it? Okay, the option D alternative, where it is mentioned about ranked alternatives, Calvin says that alternative cannot help to explain how to know the best ways. Absolutely. So, the ranking doesn't, help to go ahead and identify what is the best way. Neither the fastest nor the cheapest. None of the options A and C as well. Okay, so Puneet goes ahead and asks, when do you add a spike in a sprint? So Puneet, very, very important. And let me make this even more clear. So spike is an item which you add in the context of the sprint when you are not sure about what would be the estimate of the work to be performed. Now you are not sure what is the way in which you have to go ahead and attain the work. There are several alternatives, and you have to choose one of the alternative out of those lists. or there could be some other facet or item which you aren't sure about or aren't clear about. So if you are not clear about how to go ahead and proceed with the work, how will you estimate the work at first place? So for making sure or making clear how to go ahead with the work, you will have to come out with the spike and take it forward accordingly. Yeah, so it is normally referred to as R&D spike or some of the other spike, which is not a story. Remember, story is realizable, estimable. Remember the invest criteria. Spike doesn't fall in sync with the invest criteria. Okay, so I hope Punit, I'm clear with the example out here. Yes, so you break through the uncertainty. Absolutely, Calvin. Brilliant point put forward. Juan, when we talk about items, are we referring about user stories? Now it depends entirely on the question. Whenever we talk about items whatsoever, but then if the same question goes out and tells you that you're dealing with, say for example, a spike like this, that is also an item. If you are dealing with user stories that are more user specific, that is also definitely an item. Is actually a number added to the story. You can go ahead and call that way, but yeah, it is user specific. But see, spike is more of an R&D kind of thought process, where you're researching and kind of finding out which will be the best alternative. Now you are not able to point it, and the work or the extent of the work might be huge. It might not be getting done within the scope of the sprint. It can easily go ahead and spill over to the next sprint, and you will have to go ahead and put a due diligence whatsoever. Yeah, sure. The explanation whatsoever. Let me go ahead and show out here. Let me go ahead and erase the screen. And as you saw out here, the team is discussing about an item in the backlog. Now, in the discussion, it becomes clear that the item can be implemented in varied ways, but the best way isn't clear. Now, if the best way isn't clear, how can you estimate the story? That's the question. Now, which of the following should be done by the team to progress in this aspect? Meaning, how can the team best estimate or best come out with an estimate in this regard? So, should they go with the fastest build? Should they go with the cheapest one? Or should they go ahead with ranking of alternatives to the backlog? Or should they add a new R&D item which helps them go ahead and come out with the best way to make the estimation possible in the form of a spike? Yeah, so that's the best way to go ahead and take it forward. Yeah, I hope, Maria, you're clear about the same. Spike mainly for identification of risk. Well, you can say that because when you are coming out with the alternatives, there might be some of the other risks being involved. In fact, agile is full of uncertainty, right? So in that way, you can just go ahead and brand that, or kind of map them to the risks whatsoever. Thanks, Calvin. Absolutely. Okay, so I'm moving on to the next question. There are a couple of more questions left. Let's first mark this question out here. Option B, as you see in a spike, the items are sufficiently researched to deliver the best business value by detailed and testable stories. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. And here it goes the timer. Now, there is a catch in this question. So, whenever we talk about scrum of scrums, is this the scenario where where scrum of scrum fits the best way possible? Well, we'll have to go ahead and relook into that. There are definitely scenarios where scrum of scrums fit in play. The scaled agile technique, But then, is this the scenario, the precise scenario? Let's go ahead and see. Putting in the pointer. So there are three startups comprising of over 150 agile developers who merged to constitute eight agile teams. Okay, so now there are startup A, B, and C, and they have in all in unison, 150 agile developers. So now they go out and combine to form eight agile teams, and they have a common portfolio. So common portfolio in the sense the products are related. Now, out of the options, which of the following will help best ensure release coordination among the teams? That is the key facet out here. Remember, release, build, also build, taking care of the features. Remember that. So let's see what the options are talking about. Mobbing, it's nothing like that. Scrum of Scrums, definitely a good option. But remember, the Scrum of Scrums are very, very useful for scenarios where you are going ahead with unrelated products. Is more useful to go ahead and deal with the the sync of the products whatsoever across teams. You can say, if say for example option C is not there, option B stands out, and you go ahead and choose option B and take it forward. But then feature driven development, or FDD, is one of the best means possible to go ahead and ensure that you have all the industry best practices in order to go ahead and get the feature delivered to entirety. Feature driven development, so whatever feature you have, you drive the same towards development whatsoever. Very, very important to go ahead and take into consideration. Now, what do I mean by that? Release coordination is being talked about, the common portfolio is being talked about. The common portfolio pertaining to the product will definitely have something to do with a common way of approaching the work. Now, in order to have a common way of approaching work, how about you going ahead and thinking about the features and taking the work end to end and getting done? So even though it might seem that there are 150 agile developers constituting eight teams, how about going and ahead and having a scrum of scrum, a scaled agile kind of techniques to deal with it end to end. Feature driven development is the best way to go ahead and take forward this particular uh, example. Remember, the keyword out here is the common portfolio. For any common portfolio that's formed after merging various teams, various agile teams, can be best dealt with in feature driven development. So also some of the aspect which we go out and dig deep or in more details whatsoever in our boot camps or even the trainings whatsoever we go out and provide. But then this is one of the facets which you can go ahead and relook into wherever you find any semblance from. You can also reach out to me if you need more details about feature driven development. It's one of the key facets of agile. Scrum ban, well, it's not being discussed about out here. If it was only from the perspective of one Scrum team individually, Scrum ban could have been an option, but we are not considering this. So even if B and C are very close to each other, out here option C is the standout one: feature driven development. Yes, it is definitely a tricky question. So yeah, absolutely. So common portfolio of products. So it's somewhat kind of saying that you have shampoos, but catering to various needs. One can be herbal, one can be chemical, one can be something else. Absolutely. So a portfolio of products whatsoever. So portfolio of products catering to a portfolio of beauty products whatsoever it could be. So even you can call the learning management system, the EduHubSpot offerings as a portfolio of offerings, because you have something to work on mobile, you have something to work on the website, you have some of the other thing to work on any of the other facets whatsoever. You get fullest of training from the holistic perspective, isn't it? It is a trick question out here, and the common portfolio is the catch. However, if it's mentioning about different products, unrelated products to work on, then Scrum of Scrum makes more sense. There are several facets to it. We need to go ahead and study the nitty gritties of Scrum of Scrum. Then only you'll be able to understand why it is more efficient out there. So, what would be the keyword to choose these types of questions? If you can please, yes, absolutely. So, keyword is common portfolio. So, From there on, you come to go ahead and see that there are multiple teams who are working on the common portfolio. So you get the feature driven development, the development which is catering to the feature driven kind of things whatsoever to help take it forward. So that's the best way to go ahead and take it forward out here. If you have further questions on feature driven development, please feel free to reach me out. There are a lot of things to go ahead and discuss about the same. Yes, absolutely. It is a practice, Calvin. But fortunately or unfortunately, it's not that much talked about. There are several things which are actually much more potent than just the normal Scrum or Scrum kind of technique. Okay, so why not we move ahead to our last question of the day? Even before that, let me go ahead and erase this. So as you see out here, FDD helps provide the most complete set of methods designed specifically for the needs of large software development projects, which is precisely like this, like the one mentioned in the present case. So large software development project, 150 agile developers, split into 8 agile teams. So if you see roughly it is 15 to 20 members, per agile team, which is not normally the norm, right? Know it very well that max to max 3 to 9 agile team members will be present. These are large, kind of software development project with large team members, large number of team members being involved, and that too they are working on a common portfolio. So you have to go ahead with the feature driven development. So make note of these small points. That would be very useful. Let's move ahead with the next question, and here goes your timer. Okay, so last 10 seconds. Okay, so time's up. And now, which one do you go ahead and see? Yes, absolutely, Munindra, and absolutely, Dikshit. You have gone ahead and picked up the right keyword out here in this particular question. Yes, Boishaki, yes, Ganeshwar. So this is the exact or the precise scenario where Scrum of Scrum goes ahead and fits in. So let's dig in deep into the question. So ABC, a startup, has quickly grown into 3 agile teams. The other way around. So there was only one startup. It has now grown into 3 agile teams, working on interrelated products out here. Okay. Now all the 3 teams have started experiencing impediments and gaps related to working in the other teams whatsoever. So there are some impediments and gaps, related to working in the other teams. Now, which of the following options depict as to how the problem could be solved? So if you go out and see such kind of, case where you get to see impediments and gaps, working in 3 agile teams, why not go ahead and best come out with the scaled agile technique, which is Scrum of Scrums. Now, Scrum of Scrums, as such, goes out and helps you, come out with the best way possible to, deal with the agile way of thinking, agile way of working. So, implement the Scrum of Scrum layer and take it forward into it. Merging two large teams to reduce issues doesn't make sense. Encourage collaboration tools over meetings. Well, it's not the meetings which is causing any problem out here. Remove dependencies between teams. How can you go out and even talk about removing dependencies? You'll have to talk about how to best deal with the dependencies, right? So even if you see, if you just go ahead and negate these 3 questions out or options out here, you stand out with implementing this Scrum of Scrum layer. Is the best option out here feasible. Yes, absolutely, Punit. So somewhere down the line, whatsoever the products are, not kind of forming yeah. So there are so many new terms whatsoever. Yes, so you're working on interrelated products, but then the particular case or question goes ahead and says impediments and gaps between the teams to go ahead and deal with. So in such cases where there are gaps, impediments, and there are some challenges to go ahead and deal with, Scrum of Scrum, kind of becomes the best option out here, which is feasible. And as also you go ahead and see that after not choosing for the options B, C, and D, which doesn't make sense, or eliminating those, you have only scum or scum which is standing out here in this layer. Now obviously I would also agree with you that it's not as precise or as simple as only these two sentences of scenarios which goes on and fits into the scum or scum context, is it? There are several other ways also to go ahead and take it forward and go ahead and come out with the relevant scheme of things. There is a subtle difference of the key things out here, and taking it forward out here. Yes, absolutely, Sibley. So in question 9, it was the large software development project which was working on a common portfolio, which actually prompted you for the feature-driven development or the FDD. As I mentioned, you had 150 team members out there, which went ahead and constituted 8 agile teams with around 15 to 20 team members. So large software development project, if you have to go ahead and focus more towards the main goal instead of Scrum or Scrum, or even better than Scrum or Scrum, you have the FDD technique is much more relevant out here. And in this context out here, you have interrelated products which might fall as a common portfolio, might not fall as a common portfolio. You don't know. The products are interrelated. But you have three agile teams, but they have the impediments and the gaps which needs to be realized. It's not speaking about or talking about any team being large or small whatsoever. You have to go ahead and realize the impediments among the agile teams which are dealing with this particular set of products, interrelated ones. So you'll have to go ahead with the Scrum of Scrum layer, which is a standout amongst the options out here. Or different yes, absolutely, for same portfolio, scum of scum, diversified portfolio, yes. But then remember the other facets also which are coming in play out here, and those are very, very tricky. The impediments, the gaps to go out and deal with in scum of scum, whereas in FDD, large software development project to deal with the best way possible. Please make a note of these. There are other facets also to go ahead and take care of. But again, if you have any further questions on this, you can feel free to reach me out. 8 agile teams in question number 9. Here are 3 agile teams. So what should be the range? See, this is not about the number of the teams. It's about the number of team members out there whatsoever. In the previous question, it was evident that it is a large software development project. Why? Because you had 150 team members to be done or to be fit into 8 agile teams. To do 3 startups were merging. So the project which was working on a common portfolio from the software development perspective was dealing with a large software development project, isn't it? So that had to be aligned with the feature driven development scheme of things. Although I again repeat, although Scrum or Scrum is not a bad option out there, feature driven development is much better, fitting in all the options or all the ticks out there. Out here, in this particular question, it's not evident whether it's a large team or a small team, but it's more evident, or the key facets being coming out, are impediments and gaps, which are more relevant to a Scrum or Scrum way of thinking. So that's more relevant out here. Yes, it's tricky, and you can call it the PMI way of thinking to go ahead and best fit into the explanations of the understandings out here. Okay, so you can go ahead and go ahead and revise whatever the questions that we discussed. So it happens to be incidentally the longest of the weekly Q and A's that we have gone ahead and taken. Each and every question was obviously some of the other challenge whatsoever to go ahead and deal with, but I certainly enjoy, and there is always something to learn from you. Awesome guys out here, who are attending my session. Please share your love. Please share the comments whatsoever on YouTube. Go ahead and feel free to write any comment whatsoever you feel free to. I go ahead and personally reply to each of those. Even my team goes ahead and replies as well to all of those recordings. So if you have to go ahead and access my past recordings, you can do that as well. So let me go ahead and share my past recordings. I have a list of all those. Let me quickly find it out. And here you go. So these are all the video recordings. So you can just make use of all these. And also you can go ahead and access my today's recording in this particular video whatsoever. Thank you, Shomo. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Wasim. For your comments. Definitely, encourages us to go ahead and start the other sessions whatsoever as well. So we are going to go ahead and come out with other weekly sessions on the same time every week, Thursdays. Um, so feel free to attend my sessions. You'll definitely get notifications. If you don't get notifications of these sessions, you can go ahead and send me a request on my LinkedIn channel out here. You can just go ahead and send me a request. I normally go ahead and send out the live notifications out there, or you can also go ahead and subscribe to our EduHubSpot channel out there. Let me share with you the link of the same. You can go ahead and subscribe. Click on the subscribe button and go ahead and subscribe out there. Also, very importantly, my upcoming September boot camp is slated to kickstart on 11th of September. So if you want any further info on how the bootcamp progresses and how are the scheme of things, you can reach me out at any point of time. We'll see if we can go ahead and accommodate any one of you if you're interested to enjoy my live sessions. Thanks, Biti. Yes, so Wasim, my next session is on next Thursday, coming Thursday, which is on 16th of September, same time. And we will look forward to more and more love, more and more comments, more and more shares from all of you. And of course, any messages you feel to share with me on my email ID, which I am sharing out here again with all of you. Okay, so any other questions from your end? If not, then it's high time that we go ahead and get done with today's session. It was a pleasure to have you all in this session. Calvin, Vishnu, Amardeep, Sushant, Shomo, Ratna, Indumati. So many names. Definitely, very encouraging to have all of you in my sessions. Yeah, we do have recommendations on PMI RMP. Please reach me out over my email ID. I will go ahead and share with you, um, you know, the information. I can also share with you the link to PMI RMP details out there on our website. Here you go. Thank you very much, Abhishek. Absolutely. Please go through my past videos as well, and please put your comments and likes. That's a big thing. That's what gets us going. That's what puts fuel to our engine day in and out. Okay, so it was great to have you guys. Just like yes, absolutely, it is the same time, 9:30 p.m. IST Indian time. Thank you, thanks Isaac, and I hope everyone goes ahead and gets even much more knowledge and are able to ace PMP as time goes on. Thank you, Ratna. See you all, guys. Take care. Bye bye. See you.